Good afternoon, everyone. Yvette De Luna here with Let's Talk Advocacy, which is NAWBO Houston's, um, forum for discussing things that have an impact on women-owned businesses. And joining me today is Crystal Gomez. She is a business coach and consultant, and she's going to be sharing with us her story. But before we get to Crystal, hi, Crystal, how are you doing?
Hi, Yvette. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's an honor. I can't wait to share my story. I'm so excited.
Excellent, excellent. Before we do that, Crystal, let's do the updates that NAWBO National has for us. And the first one is, of course, the House finally has a new chair. Mike Johnson was elected, so kudos for that. So the government can continue operating. And the other big thing is that NAWBO, the National Association of Women Business Owners, is celebrating. It was yesterday, but it's an entire month of celebration, I would say. It's been 35 years since the passing of House Bill 5050, which is that bill that in 1988 authorized women to have businesses to their names. So that it's been 35 years since then. And of course, NAWBO was instrumental in getting that piece of legislation, that law approved, right, in Congress. Their lobbying efforts began in the 70s, and finally in 1988, we got that bill. So, what Congress has gathered so far, and the government is telling us has happened so far, is that we have like 13 million women-owned businesses so far. So this is thanks to this particular piece of legislation. It wouldn't be like that otherwise. All of these businesses would have been in the name of a husband, a brother, a father, someone else other than the women doing the legwork and all the ideas and the innovations. So NAWBO issued a statement and says, noteworthy parts of the Women's Business Ownership Act, which is that bill that I was talking about, included erasing the need for a male relative or husband to co-sign a business. So just remember, that was happening 35 years ago. It sounds like very far away. It's really, from where I'm standing, it's not. I was an adult when this happened, so by the time I was an adult, I wasn't authorized to have a business to my name. So the act erased the need for a male relative or husband. The act established the Women's Business Center program, which we have, I don't know you, Crystal, but I know I have benefited from their trainings, and they created the National Women's Business Council, and it requires the Census Bureau to include women-owned corporations, which expanded research beyond the self-employed into bigger women-owned businesses. So the act that we're celebrating did all that for women. So again, NAWBO was instrumental in lobbying for this law, and we're happy to join in the celebration, right? Because as you can, if you're a woman and you own a business, you know what we're talking about. It's of course you need to do the legwork. Of course you have to go in with passion and focus and all that. But there are hurdles along the way that others, like men, do not have. That's simply the way it was. And there is still some of that we need to, battle with, right? And NAWBO also says that we continue to have an uphill climb to remain competitive in our nation's economy, and it is our job to advocate for ourselves. That's a statement by NAWBO National Board Lisa Coppola. And Lisa is, no stranger to developing successful businesses, and she knows that, as the younger generation say, the struggle is real, because it is what has been accomplished, and that women have finally are finally coming into owning businesses that are growing. But that's why we have in at the national level an advocacy agenda that is aiming to recognize the category of micro businesses for women, because our businesses are characterized from as having from 0 to 25 employees and grossing less than $1 million. So we still need a category of micro business to be recognized by Congress, to be codified into law, so that access to capital for the majority of those types of businesses it comes to fruition. So again, super happy to be joining in this celebration, and happy birthday, HR 5050. Now, Crystal, you're no stranger to success and, having your own business. Tell us how you started it all.
Yes, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. What started it all is I grew up in a small town where it was very much the haves and the have-nots, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of the haves. So I grew up very privileged. I was sent to private school. I was expected to go to college, and most women in our family, if I look back on it, they went into education. So they have the degree, they have the advanced degree, but they still the less were in traditional roles of women as a teacher, when I thought back on it. So also, I grew up in the home of a family business. So my grandfather was a dentist. So Dr. Joel O. Tate is my inspiration for me being here. So, even though we're mostly girls in our family, there's a few men, but we're mainly women. They
Okay.
inspired in us. You can be whatever you want to be when you grow up. So I was like, okay, I want to be something, but not a dentist. Not a dentist.
You had that clear from the very, very, very early on.
I will not be continuing this dental practice, although I'm not afraid of the process. So, I worked in different positions as a little girl, as little as 5 years old. He was handing me bloody teeth. I was
Oh
processing
gosh, yes.
x-rays, because back then you had to put the film, you had to develop it through the machine. And I saw the advent of HIPAA come in. When I was 5 years old being handed a bloody tooth, it was not in a gloved hand. It was in a bare hand. They handed me
Okay.
the bloody tooth. As soon as I could walk, they were like, here, go throw that away, you know. So as long as your hand was clean and didn't have any cuts, there was no worry about
Yeah.
infection,
Yes.
and then different diseases came about and HIPAA came about. And that was around the age I was about 14 or 15. So, when HIPAA came about, I just saw all the changes as a business owner. I worked as the office manager in the business. So I knew I wanted to be a business owner, especially where I'm from in Mississippi. Either your family owns a business, or you work for the government, or you fish. Those were the three main industries growing up. So my mother, was subjected to this. I barely escaped it. So yes, they instilled in us, you can be anything you want. You can be a millionaire by 40, and you can be the first woman president, and all of
Yeah.
those things. And I believed it, but the law allowed for me to be that person and not have to have a male member of my family to co-sign.
Yeah.
So I always knew I wanted to be a business. I mean, that business afforded me things, little things such as in the school, if I was running for something, because we had a family owned business, I had access to a copy machine. You couldn't go to FedEx or Kinko's, you had to hand make these posters. So,
Yes.
I always did really well because I could come in with a fancy thing. Yes, I may have drawn it, but I was able to photograph it. So,
Yes.
I mean, copy it. So I didn't have to draw every single flyer. Or even
Yeah.
years, back then they had a machine called a mimeograph. So everything was that bluish purple color.
I remember that thing. Yes.
But mine, looked very nice because it was photocopied.
Photography. Yeah. That was that was your initiation into marketing, right?
That was my initiation to marketing. I saw the advent of computers being born. So our first computer was basically a word processor
Yeah.
that, could type out a document and it could manage the business. It was particularly made, for managing the medical records, and you could type on it, and there was like, I don't know, some solitaire. Actually, that was not on the first one. There was no games on the first one. Then a few years later, when the internet came out, then we got the solitaire game and the Tetris and the dial up. You are,
Yes, yes, we all remember that. Well, I don't know if we all. I remember that noise very well. Yeah.
But as good as I look, Yvette, I've been around long enough to see a lot of changes made.
Yes.
Most importantly, I've been around long enough to see that what they taught me, you go to school, you get a good education, you get a good job, and from that good job, you get your gold watch and you can retire and you're set for life. Well, unfortunately, that is not the way any longer. I've personally in my lifetime seen us go from having family owned business to be in mainly corporations to the decentralization of the corporations where you've got to go back to being a business owner because by no choice of your own, during the last years of COVID, businesses that you never would have thought in a million years would go out of business, went out of business. So with
Yes.
that went your
Yes.
hopes and dreams of retiring from that job. You can't be retired with a company that's no longer in existence. So there you are back in the position of, needing to use your personal skills or doing something that you love and find a way to monetize it just to
Yeah.
be able to survive because jobs were not, they just weren't there the way they were in the 80s when I was a young woman such as yourself. So, at 15, I saw those changes. But when I went into the workforce, I saw the true effects of it. And now I'm able to understand what the generation before me was faced with. They say we have it easier, and of course we always want it to be easier for future generations. So any small stride that we can make, and I'm here today to encourage people to find their passion and monetize your passion despite the obstacles. And what you will learn is the common thread with very many successful people, men and women alike, is that the picture was not straight up. It was not an easy battle. And
No,
you have no idea what they went through to get to where they are.
definitely. And in terms of women, this idea that maybe we were less capable or something like that. Of course, it permeated for a very long time. And now I think we are coming to terms with that idea that, of course, there's no gap, there's no skills gap, there's no
Yeah,
courage gap, there's
yeah,
just misplaced perceptions, right? And so tell us about one of the biggest obstacles that you overcame to continue in your path as an entrepreneur and as a business coach.
yes. Just simply overcoming the hurdles of wanting to work in what's traditionally been considered a male dominated industry. So when you go in there, they don't cut you any slack. And as a matter of fact, they make it known that they don't want you there and do everything to
Mhm.
get you to quit. And you can't quit despite the naysayers. You've done the work, you got the job, you belong there, so you
Yeah.
have to be able to shut out the noise,
Yes.
because
You have to be able to focus on your goal, right?
yes, and we tend to be our worst critics, because we hear what other people say. We have self doubt and limiting beliefs, and you're like, well, maybe they're right. Maybe I can't do it, and then you go to bed and you wake up the next day and you do it all again. You're like, that was yesterday, whatever. I was down on myself yesterday, but I'm going to wake up again today and I'm going to do it again. For me, it's natural. People can't tell me no. You can tell me no. I'm going to be mad. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to quit 10 million times. I'm going to go to bed. And I'm going to wake up the next morning and I'm going to do it again. You
Yes.
know, but
Yes.
unfortunately, not everyone has that resilience. And I'm here to tell you that don't be so hard on yourself. You're better than you think. In my career, some of the challenges that I had is, as women, we wear different hats. We're born, we're a daughter, we're an aunt, we're an uncle. We get married, so we become a wife and possibly a mother, and then maybe a business owner or an employee. So in wearing all those hats, we have different emotions that go with each one of those hats. But by the
Yeah.
time you reach the entrepreneur stage, you're all of those people in one. So not
Yeah.
only it's like, okay, now we're going to allow you to have the job, but you still need to take care of the home as if you're a homemaker. So I'm blessed to be married to a man that does not have that philosophy, and we share the skills. If you get home first, then you cook dinner. If neither one of us wants to cook, we have a bad habit of eating out too much because neither one of
Yeah.
us wants to cook. But it's not an expectation that it's my job as the woman to cook, because we both work. So I'm blessed, and I realize that not all women are blessed. Maybe they're married to a wonderful person, but we still have those beliefs that this is the job of a woman and this is the job of the man. And that's important for you to know going into the marriage, what
Definitely.
expectations were. When I got married, I'm like, look, I'm gonna be a businesswoman. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, but I don't cook and I don't clean. I hang out with men,
Yeah.
and I hope you're okay with that. If that's not okay with you, then you probably don't want to
Yeah.
marry me. And
Yeah.
5 years later, we're still here. He's my biggest supporter. His family's been supportive from
Excellent.
day one. So I've been blessed. And
So, Crystal, and congratulations on that, because
yeah,
it doesn't happen every day,
yeah,
and it's like you were saying, it's not that it's someone's job to do this or that, is that we both live under this roof, so we get to do the things that are required to keep up the maintenance under a roof. So that's
yes,
amazing. But about, you said something very interesting about that code switching that we women have to do. There are other groups that do have to do it as well. But I
yes,
would like to concentrate here today because I think that is slowly fading away as we realize that authenticity is like a higher energy. That it's been rated higher than love. So this authenticity is really something that the younger generations are striving for, and that they are not really buying into the thing of code switching. So for those who still have to do that because they're in a situation where they might have to do that, any thoughts?
yes. I mean, you've got to meet, what's in front of you. So you have to find a way to have the balance there between your happiness. Because I do have to say that I was driven and everybody in my family's been successful. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't the only one that didn't go to college. So I went to
Okay.
college and did everything that they wanted. But, ultimately they wanted me to become an attorney. And when I got into it, I guess I've been known to be argumentative, but because you're not gonna run over me and you're not gonna tell me what to
Yeah.
do. So as a child, I argue with adults, which is a no. And there's a different thought in raising children these days. Let children express their thoughts. But I grew up in a patriarchal family. So it's, you do as I say, not as I do, and don't talk like that, disrespect your elders. But it wasn't in the disrespecting, but I just wanted you to know what I want, and
Of course. Yes,
and
yes,
when
yes.
you grow up, it's hard to say, well, I understand why they did it, but I don't necessarily want to be that way. I want to
Yeah.
my children to learn boundaries, but I also want to know what their needs are. So there's a balance there. So fast forward, when you become a female entrepreneur, you're still all of those things and have to wear those hats. And it does depend upon your support system, how much of that you're actually going to be able to do. My husband is very supportive of my business. He checks in, where are we, but he's not worried where we are. I'm like, I'm still at the office. It's 10, 11 o'clock at night or later. And he's like, well, good. You just want to know that you're safe, and
Yeah.
you can do what you need to do. So he's my biggest supporter. But I know many women who, their husband's like, you can go out there and do that business thing, but you still need to come home and wear those other hats. And
Yes.
we just have to find the balance that works for us, and do not let your limiting beliefs. That means you can't do it. That does not mean you cannot do it, because I cannot tell you the number of women there's more than I can count on both hands that have multiple children. Maybe one of the children's disabled. Maybe they have a baby in the background, and and they're killing it even more than I. They are doing well. You would never know that that's going on in their background. Maybe there's some domestic violence. Maybe they have hidden health
Yeah.
issues themselves. So as women, we deal with all of that. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah,
I
we're amazing creators. That's I mean, we are. There's no denying it. There's no hiding it. We women are amazing, amazing creators of all sorts of things, including life, right? But going back to the idea that, like like the older generations, I say, let me say it for myself. My generation is unlearning a lot of things because, like you said, saying what you need and want to succeed, like in a role at work or as an entrepreneur, is not being it's not being entitled. It's just saying what you need and what you want, right?
Yes,
And it's been interpreted these days like, oh, they're so entitled. They have it so easy. And well, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe we need to listen more, right? And that's what, as a business coach, do you have any advice to people that are they're shifting from being an employee and now becoming like a business owner?
absolutely. First of all, I'm here to tell you it's not going to be easy, but if you are determined to do it, just refocus and reshift. Do not quit. Stand back and look at what your challenges are, and identify if they're actually challenges or they're excuses that you're telling yourself, that based on your limiting beliefs, well, maybe this is too hard, maybe I can't do it. So in the end, keep your eye on the prize, keep your eye on the goal, never quit, but you can always refocus and reshift how you're going to get there. The first thing you need in any business, and to get business funding or support, you're going to need to have a written plan. So when it's different from your thoughts, you need to write them down. So when you evaluate that written plan, you can clearly see these are my actual real obstacles. Those others are contributing factors, but that's not my real obstacle. So what are my real obstacles, and how do I overcome them to continue to reach the goal? So you can refocus as many times as you need, but don't give up. You can make it. There's so
Yeah.
many resources out here, particularly for women, that I'm finding that
Yeah.
not just women, but men too, have no idea about the resources, such as the small business, such as NAWBO, such as government contracts. They are out there trying to fund these businesses out of their own pocket, when the whole idea is you may have to start out of your own pocket, but you don't need to stay in your pocket. There are resources here that, first of all, require that written plan for them to have an idea of your vision. That's your vision on paper of where you want to go, and they will help you, you know, fund your business. They will support you. But if you
Yes.
give up, most people tend to give up when they're about to have a breakthrough. So you've got to not give up before the breakthrough. I'm looking to scale my business to the next level, and every day there's another challenge, and I've seen a lot of my friends and colleagues get up, but I'm here to tell you there's always going to be a challenge, but don't let that stop you. Don't
Yeah.
let it affect you. We're humans, we're emotional, but know that there's a challenge. Do what you can. Don't beat yourself up about it, and you move on to the next one, because we tend to internalize and take too much personal, when after years of experience you'll learn it had nothing to do with me, and whatever that other person did, whatever I said to them, it didn't matter. They weren't going to do business with me anyway, because that was not my target. I was
Yeah, it wasn't a good fit. So the first advice is the number one tip, do that business plan, right? Get it in writing, get that strategy down, get the map going.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, it's your map, and you can change it actually
yeah,
as you go along. It's a living document, but it's an important one because it will allow you to see from here to like a year out or 5 years out. So definitely a great advice there, Crystal. And in terms of your wins, what has been one of your greatest wins in along your entrepreneurship?
well, one of my greatest wins is actually being here today on this nationally televised podcast. That's a great honor, and I am honored that you chose me, because the day that we met, just like every day, I was networking. I introduced myself, tell people what I do. And to my surprise, you approached me right away and ran up to me and was like, hey, can you say that on my show? And I have to say I was a bit defeated, because I've been going around saying the same thing, and I'm like, is anybody listening? Am I even making sense? But that went to finally tell me that I am saying the right thing. I just wasn't in the right room, hadn't been in the right rooms. So
That happens as well. So, oh, that's amazing, Crystal. And we are honored to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us and connecting with us and accepting the invitation. Do you have any final thoughts for someone that's, thinking about going into business, or thinking about, although I think you already said it, thinking about quitting a business?
yeah, you everybody has to have a side hustle, because your job is not guaranteed, because it's not even guaranteed that they'll be in business, but it's not their obligation to give you a job. So we all have to have a side hustle for that time when life forces us to depend on that. So if you already have that in place, then you can, maybe go at it harder and stronger and turn that into your main job. But do not be discouraged. There are so many resources out there, such as NAWBO, such as the SBA. There's, options to help you with funding of your business that are also will give you advice that are no cost to you. Scores, one
The
of
women's business centers are amazing. They are amazing.
Center, which
Yeah.
is a nationwide entity focused on helping you get
Yeah.
certified to do business with both your local and federal government. So there's so many resources out there. Instead of giving up, refocus and go somewhere else. If you're networking and marketing with the same people, find a new group of people, because usually, you just haven't found the right fit. It's not that what you're saying or doing there's no interest for it, or there's no market for it, you're just speaking to the wrong people. So find a new room, find a new group.
Yes, that's it. That's in a nutshell. That's amazing, Crystal. Thank you so much for joining us. And before we leave, we want to remind everyone to get to our Houston NAWBO website, our page, and register for January's conference. It's going to be amazing. And we have a lot of speakers lined up and a lot of amazing things to help you grow your business, as well as vendor opportunities. You know, you can catch a break with that and have a space at our event. So go ahead to Houston NAWBO's page and go ahead and register for the conference and see how you can do the networking, because we're all about doing that networking, and we are also about giving women that have businesses an opportunity to showcase what they offer and how they help others. So thank you so much, Crystal, and thank you, Sandra, our producer, Sandra Fernandez. She's an amazing marketer. So thank you so much. And to Sandy and Vita that said hi. And Artista Elizabeth, mwah. Love you guys. Thank you so much and have a great afternoon. Bye.
Thank you.